Hey guys, Mr. Chaos here. This is just gonna be my first impressions on every single unit that I have tried as a complete free-to-play as of right now. But remember, these are just first impressions. If anybody tells you any tier list as of right now, they're all lying, because there's no way people have figured this game out in the first 24 hours, because they nerfed and changed and buffed a lot of different units and all the things. The card system, it is very complex. So these are just purely first impressions. Please play the game by yourself and see how the units function. I'm not an Chaos Zero Nightmare expert. I literally just played this game day one yesterday, so I'm basically just exploring as I go. But these are from the perspectives as a free to play, if I can say so myself. So let's just jump in right now, starting from units from okay, let's just go from like, okay, jobbers to non-jobbers. Owen, I think that's completely useless. So and then what I do, maybe you guys might be able to prove me wrong. He is the very first unit you get, because if you take a look at the cards here, he basically does a little bit of everything, right? He has shield, he has damage, he gives you a debuff. Generally, I don't really think it matters too much. No comments. Yeah, I have no comments, right? Okay, he has yeah, it's like a DPS for. Yeah, I wouldn't worry about it. He's like a 4-star-ish DPS. So nothing much to say. Okay, Beryl is also another free unit that you're gonna be getting. She specializes in single target burst DPS. Right? She specializes in single target burst DPS. So the way she functions is this card, right? Create one opening found or charge shot, granted exhaust -1 until use. But you can retain these. So if you want like a big bomber, so usually you can say, okay, she has a massive AoE, but it's very simplistic. There's no other skills, just AoE. But if you can combo your cards together, so for example, a couple of like scenarios in the chaos, which is like cost reduction and like playing multiple cards at the same time, you can let go of like a crazy amount of burst damage. The problem for Beryl is that her cost is very high. So you need to funnel her up with like a battery. So for example, like your Mika or any other skills that can make you use these high cost cards as like a combo, right? So that's gonna be better. I also have not played her, so frankly speaking, I also don't really know understand the fullest capacity. This is gonna be plus 20% damage, so just deal more damage, and this is gonna be 5% damage. If critical damage is high, blah blah, increase the value. So more damage. So it's a very straightforward DPS, but at least I can kind of tell that I think Beryl has a little bit more use compared to Owen, because Owen is trying to do everything, right? He's trying to be a shooter, trying to be a DPS, trying to be everything, but Beryl is like straight up just like big booms, right? Big booms DPS. He does have a zero cost draw tree, which I think also funnels very nicely, generally speaking. So that's gonna be Beryl. Next unit, this is also free 99. Okay, this unit I actually played quite a bit, especially start. So Tressa is a single target DOT assassin unit. So her mechanic is basically you want to create these daggers, and each of these daggers cost agony. And agony is basically this game's DOT. It's fixed damage DOT. So the more agony you apply, the more damage you're going to be dealing to a single target. And as we usually would expect, if you cannot concentrate all of your agony into one target, her damage falls off by quite a lot. So I would say she's very suitable for this like single target burst DPS. Because another thing is all of her other key cards, let's get a look at this, it makes her deal even more damage against target with agony. So if the target is in agony, plus 50% damage, and you have a lot of different epiphany, which makes these cards just do even more damage. So for example, you can even trigger one more time for these skills. So TLDR, apply agony, do big burst damage, and this thing creates you more free shadow daggers, which just lets you do even more damage, right? So they're gonna be that, they're gonna be do. Partners, I don't really care about it that much, blah. Potential for this is super nice. Because Dagger Throw, this card over here, it will allow you to also create 2 agony, which is gonna be your basic attack. So a lot of these cards, this first trace, it unlocks a special effect that synergizes well with the rest of the kit. So now that you can unlock more agony from simply using basic attack, you can stack on agony even faster before even creating Shadow Dagger. So this is very important. This is more damage, big booms. More damage, big booms, right? Example, so DOT Aboba Waifu, very decent, very nice. Okay, I am going to try her out very soon. So from what I've gathered last night when I was playing this up to 10 AM, is that she is one of the only true actual support in the game, because Ray is her cards, right? Her cards are one of the only ones that can increase the damage of your other cards. So you have a unit plus 40% damage with cost of 1, and you also have choose one card plus 100% damage for 1 turn. So for example, if you want to make like a hyper carry burst DPS, for example, Haru, right? Haru has her anger shot, which you can make it stack on very, very high. You can buff up those hyper carry burst DPS running cards like Ray to make them even stronger. So I think her potential is absolutely there. And also another thing she does is she gives this thing called Morale. So Morale is basically this game's damage percentage buff, but you'll notice that CZN has a lot of units that gives you Morale. So I think at the end of the day, you wouldn't really in the end game be focused on the damage percentage values, but any morale buffs in the early game is super nice because it is one of the highest forms of damage increase you can get because no one else actually gives you this amount. Because everything else is just like card cycle, AP burst, otherwise it's just raw damage. So I think Ray has a lot of potential. I will try it out eventually, but I'm still trying to get there when I get there, right? So that's gonna be that. Her potential over here is gonna be 15% crit chance. Okay, honestly, I think this is not that crazy because she doesn't really deal that much damage herself, so that's gonna be that. Blah 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 blah. I think all of her traces are nothing too exceptional unless you build like a DPS Ray. But from the way I see it from a unique card is that she functions as a support, right? Her main roles are from a unique card over here, so that I'm gonna do right. Oh, I'm gonna completely skip the manifest egos because we're a free-to-play channel. We're not gonna talk about dupes, but some of them have very, very nice dupes. So, but for now, I'm just gonna skip them. So I know what to do. Okay, Selena. First of all, one of my favorite designs in CZN. I really like the way that bro looks. She is basically a gun, bunny, waifu, abuba, red eyes, exceptional. So Selena is like this game's Jafava, right? She is like this game's toughness bar breaker, where she wants to deal her kit revolves around tenacity damage. So tenacity is basically this game's weakness bar. So if you weakness break the enemy, you will deal more damage, and you have also other cards that can function with weakness broken states, right? So very, very nice. And on top of that, she also applies mark. So in a sense, she's also like a support but it is more like a follow-up attack sub DPS support that does a lot of tons of other. So more is like a mechanic where she does a follow-up attack. It is pretty much she just does a follow-up attack. So pretty universal. Unfortunately, she got a little bit nerfed from CBT because if I remember correctly, they made this like I think it was 0 cost last time or something, but basically got nerfed. Don't worry about it. But she is a very, very interesting unit. I do want to say I noticed she is, from what I've seen, the only unit that implants passion weakness. So she is straight up a Firefly enabler. So if you're going to be running a passion DPS, you can implant passion weakness on target, which allows your passion DPS to cook them up. So I think Selena also shows a lot of potential. Other than that, I want to see how this does, because from what I noticed, she doesn't have any card cycle and she doesn't have any AP cost. So, but all costs are very, very low. So you definitely need to run someone with a lot of draw mechanics. And what happens to be someone with card draw and passion DPS? Okay, I'll get to that a little bit later, but I think this synergy could be very, very interesting. But that is pretty much gonna be Selena. Her potential is gonna be piercing damage. So basically just do a little bit more for this thing over here, right? Piercing damage, ignore shield. So very, very nice. But nothing too game changing. All these seems to be usually just additional damage, so nothing too much to talk about. But usually these are gonna be the more important ones. So that is gonna be Selena. Next unit. Okay, Nya high key got overshadowed by Mika, because Mika is just that much more comfortable, especially for the general population that doesn't really know how to function the game, right? But Nya is someone that I think she has a lot of potential because her ability utilizes card draw and discard. So she is literally like one of, if not the best ways to cycle through a deck. So if you play Miracle Rogue, you know how important preparation and sprint is, right? The preparation, sprint, and like gadget auctioneer, right? So this entire kit revolves around getting through the deck as fast as possible. So if you play with any discard mechanic DPS, for example, Renoa that wants you to discard her bullets, I think Nya can be a super, super nice complex replacement. Then this thing has the Decibel. Unfortunately, she got reworked from the CBT, where like she doesn't buff as much anymore. But like she does another, I'm not exactly sure what the difference is, but she basically got rework. I still do think she has a lot of potential, but the most obvious flaw is she doesn't have any AP generation. So if you're gonna be running Nya, but if you don't run Mika, your DPS is probably not gonna give you enough AP generation. So you might need something else that gives you more AP, but if you run both Nya and Mika at the same time, you are not gonna be able to cycle through your damage properly. right? Because you only have that 1 DPS, and the rest of it give you AP plus health. So, and you also have no shields, right? You have no shields. So I think this card is in a real weird spot because she's in a little bit of a competition compared to Mika. But I think she has a lot of potential. I just think she just needs to find the right DPS that can function very well. Yeah, I think Renoa is one of them. So eventually when I build her up, I will try these two in combination instead of Mika. Because her heals are going to be a lot less comfortable, right? I noticed that her heals are a lot less comfortable compared to Mika. And she doesn't get any AP, so I know what to do. Her potential over here is pretty much going to be extra attack heal 50%. So you really want to. I think she just fits so well with Renoa because Renoa also has a tri-attack, right? So we'll just see how this is gonna be, but a little bit more of an additional heal to make her a little bit more comfortable. Other than that, Eddie gonna do, I don't want to do, right? Okay, this card, unfortunately, I might be completely wrong. I think she's fucking useless, right? Because like I mentioned at the start of my first impression video, I don't think your role as a shielder is like if your role is destined to be something to protect, you want to protect. It's a little bit like Owen, right? Like Owen is like a DPS that also gives you shield and vulnerable, so you don't really know exactly what he does. Bro is absolutely big, but as a shielder, she only has access to 1 shield skill. So if you don't get this shield skill, you cannot generate shields, period. So you're not even gonna be able to protect yourself from mental damage, which is the whole reason why you run shield in the first place. So I think this is gonna be a little bit awkward spot. She has a lot of other things like damage reduction, metalize, which is basically like counterattack, right? It's all counterattack, but it takes away her main purpose, which is to be a shielder. Which is why like all the other units, the big Ababa, the Eagle Girl, they have more shields, which makes them a lot more comfortable. So at this point, if you're gonna be running a shielder, and you want to run Amir, you might as well just run another unit that gives you either more damage or more card cycle. And just cycle through your healer cards a lot frequently and just cope with the mental damage and just cycle through. Right? So I don't think she does the purpose. So and I want to do. But that being said, I think she does do a lot of damage. Like this thing, it does a stupid amount of damage, especially AoE. But unfortunately, it's just not feeling a role. So that's just my personal opinion and my experience so far. This is once again okay, there's a lot of typos in this game. Metalize. So, indie company, it is what to do. So, ignore the typos, but they're gonna be there, right? So, okay, we have come to our last 4 units, which I would say are my 4 units that actually has the highest amount of experience with. I'll just start off with Bro right here before we get into the 5 stars. Okay, Mika. I would say is the best way to introduce yourself into CZN's whole gameplay loop. Because the gameplay loop for CZN is that you start with 3 AP, and every single card you play, if you don't play them, it goes to the discard pile, and then once the discard pile is going to be filled up and your actual draw pile is going to be empty, it'll reshuffle all again. So she is a unit that teaches you how the game functions by balancing your AP, your card draw, your sustain, and then the rest of the units are your DPS, right? So I think Mika, she fulfills that role perfectly. So you can see over here, she has 0 cost plus 1 AP. Her ultimate gives you plus 2 of this, which is basically plus 2 AP. Stays cost is honestly a little bit expensive, but I want to do. Then the rest of that is just going to be more heals. She has a bit of an AoE attack if you really need it. And other than that, you also have a couple of wave, which is also AP generation, right? Also, another typo, this is definitely supposed to be wave. So when wave is 3, you gain 1 AP and reduce wave. So it's basically another way. So she's an AP generator plus sustain plus a little bit of a card draw based on your epiphany. So I think she is a absolutely, even if you don't really like her, you kind of need to run her first to get a feel of how this game works. Because if you don't run Mika and you run anyone else, you can't really get like the game flow. It's like running DPS without support or sustain in HSR, right? So maybe in the future, when players understand the combat mechanics a little bit more, maybe we could see Nya in play, because she also has this card, but you lose the AP. But as of now, I think everybody should at least try their hands on Mika and see how everything feels as a whole, to see all the different DPSs, because she basically works with every single DPS, right? Because the game is not really like, it's not really just elemental system. You want to cycle your decks and build a combo while keeping your team alive against the boss. And Mika does everything else except for DPS. So I would say she's pretty much a Mars race. Just run her. You won't really find a replacement in the short term unless it really is like a limited version. So I'm gonna do her potential over here. All this is not that crazy, but more heals is always more heals. So not as important for the other ones. So just get that for the morning bag. I think her dupe over here. This is also very nice, right? Okay, I did say I'm not gonna like manage the dupes, but if you get an E2, you heal for 200% when you take stress. And you are gonna be taking quite a lot of stress, especially because in the early game, your barrier is gonna be broken very frequently, right? So I think this is a very, very nice E2. Her E1 is just, you always guarantee this, right? So initially you just guarantee this, but I'm gonna rank very, very nice. Okay, so that is going to be all of our 4-star units. We can now jump into the 3 5-stars I personally own. Once again, all of these units I reviewed today, they are not anywhere near the end game state. I'm like super early day 1, so I'm sure there's gonna be a lot more hidden mechanics and ways to play them in the future. But for now, I'm just gonna jump into the unit that this is my personal favorite, and she's also my first 5-star in this game. Okay, unfortunately I killed Hue. It is what it is, but Veronica, I sincerely, wholeheartedly feel she is one of the best 5-stars you can get. Maybe I'm biased, maybe I don't know what I'm talking about, but she feels so fucking comfortable because I tried running her with any of these two, right? Any of these two, she just works because she is a DPS that doesn't require skill points. And that is like one of the best you can get, because this means that you can now funnel your skill points into an actual main DPS. So this thing, also 5-star, absolutely. This thing right here, once you cast this once, she will always let go of this attack at the end of turn. So you literally don't have to let her spend a single skill point, and she'll constantly deal this damage over and over again. And the best part is, when you get into your Chaos Domains, you can upgrade your ballistas. So if you take a look at your Epiphany from your ballistas, right, you can literally get them into like all the different kinds of ballistas. So you have like Shouting Ballista with AoE, you have your Giant Ballista with like even more AoE, you have your Enhanced Ballista with an extra damage with extra crit chance, you have Piercing Ballista with, so you have like all sorts of different upgrades, and it's like literally like for free 99, and you just get it. So I think Veronica is like super versatile, she's super chill, and on top of this, she has card cycling. This is a 1-cost shield plus draw 2. It is like, this is literally Pot of Greed in Yu-Gi-Oh, right? I think this is like one of like the one of the best use, because you always guarantee not just draw, but you draw from your other combatants. So if you are gonna be able to use this, you can draw like your Mika's healing, you can draw your main DPS's charge attacks, and it will help you funnel through it so much quicker because you won't draw your own cards every single time. And for your ability also, like, you have like even more ways to like minus costs, right? 1 reload and everything else. So very very nice. And the rest of the kit is like a generally super fast deck cycle, super fast free DPS because you don't really need to spend anything. And as long as you play other cards, you gain reload, which makes your actual free DPS do even more damage. So she's like the definition of what I would say like Trippy. Because Trippy just deals damage. You just put her there, she gives you res buff, she gives you damage buff, and she just keeps doing follow up that. She always does this follow up that no matter what you do. So I think Veronica is absolutely bastard. Maybe I'm wrong. I feel she's really nice, right? And then her potential is basically allows you to get the additional effect where you generate 1 ballista for free. And I think this is super fucking crazy because now you can actually use her basic to generate more ballistas. And if you take a look at her ultimate, right, her ultimate guarantees you to have your ballistas at max stacks. So if you can play a combo deck where there's like a chaos thing that can duplicate your extra cards. So you could have a situation where your hand card has like 4 different ballistas at the same time. Then you let go of your ultimate at level 3 charge. So you have 4 ballistas at level 3 charge. And imagine if they're like piercing, shutting. Oh my god, bro. But the potential of this bitch is absolutely insane. So I think she's super nice. But once again, I am almost certain I'm gonna be a little bit more biased here because she's the first 5-star I have, and I believe the most out of everything. So maybe if your experience is gonna be a little bit different for the other 5-stars, understandable as well. But for now, I think she's super solid. So next, right, Veronica, absolutely. Okay, Renoa. She is pretty much the Firefly of the main story. She is like your girlfriend that. Okay, I'm not gonna spoil the main story, but she is basically the main character's girlfriend. Like, she's like our first waifu unit, right? So if you want to think about the main character, this in season they call her Nutu. So she's pretty much the main character. From what I understand, her kit is like she's a purely focused on single target burst DPS, making use of dirge bullets. So you use your cards to generate dirge bullets, and dirge bullets will always be moved to your graveyard and Elton. So she'll always shoot this. So you want to generate as many of these dirge bullets as possible. So either with your Echo of Sorrow, or you're going to use your Flower of Devout Fate. So either of these two, you generate dirge bullets, and then you let go of a big bomba with either Battle of Pitch Black, which is more damage with dirge bullet, or this massive larger, which is like absolutely insane damage, especially if you unlock the ability for this. Oh yeah, but basically, if you were to get this, you will do absolutely insane amount of damage, and you move all of your bullets into the graveyard. Once you move your bullets into the graveyard, you then use your ultimate to move your bullets from the graveyard back to your hand. So as the battle proceeds longer and longer and longer, you're gonna get into a scenario where I can imagine you have like 6, 7, 8 dirge bullets if it's long enough, and you just do a massive large dot, just slam every single dirge bullet for like 10 billion damage. So I think in the long drawn out boss fights, she has one of the highest DPS potentials from what I'm saying. I haven't seen all the other units, but this is basically the way that I'm playing her. Then her potential over here is gonna be unlocking the ability to increase your dirge bullet and your extra attack. So every single one of dirge bullet is considered as extra attack. And remember who was the other girl? So this girl over here, she buffs your extra attack while also helping you to discard dirge bullet. So discard is like a... There was this card in Hearthstone, I'm not really sure what's the name, but you want your card to be discarded. It's like a discard deck. So you can make use of Nia to discard dirge bullets intentionally. So you can intentionally choose dirge bullet to be discarded. So whatever it is, it gets used up. I'm not sure what the game is. So I see a super big potential between these two. Unfortunately, I haven't raised both in Navia, and frankly speaking, Miku just feels that much more comfortable as before I get into endgame. So that is generally how Renoa plays. For her rest of these things, they are always gonna be. I think all these are usually all DPS. Between Renoa and Kayron, I would say that Kayron is a little bit like Renoa, except that all of his cards, it doesn't get recycled. So Renoa is the one that can recycle all dirge bullets. So dirge bullets, technically, they never expire. The longer you play, the more dirge bullets you have in your graveyard, and you can then funnel back into your hand with your ultimate. But Kayron's ability is almost the same as Renoa, whereas he uses futility. So just imagine futility is dirge bullet, but futility gets exhausted, right? So once this thing is going to be used up, it's gone. You can't regenerate again, so you have to build up the stacks all over after you cast, for example, the ultimate. So this ultimate is like, you use all your futility in your hand, and you do like absolutely, also in the company, you do absolutely insane AoE damage, and you can also do absolutely insane single target damage. Like, this is also insane single target damage. So he has both AoE and single target, but the thing is, you need to generate futility over time more constantly, because you can't stack them. So I think a scenario I can compare is if Renoa is better for like longer combat, where you can fight the boss for like super long, Kayron is probably a lot better for like shorter combat, because you want to ideally end the fight by like that one big burst, because if you cannot kill them in this one big burst, you have to generate everything all over again. You know what I'm saying? So I think those two are like the main differences, because they are both dark DPS. They are literally both exactly the same dark DPS. I don't really think there's too big of a difference between both. Generally, I play with Renoa and Kayron. I personally prefer Renoa a little bit more. Maybe because she's wife, maybe because she's not male, but because I am sick and fucking tired of playing males. But other than that, I think that there's probably not too much difference, right? Because the thing with Kayron is, you technically generate futility faster than you generate dirge bullets, because you can generate futility running your basic attack cards as well, right? Even your basic attack and your spheres, you can all generate futility. Whereas for Renoa, her dirge bullets are only generated from your Echo Sword as well as Flower, right? So that is pretty much gonna be the two main DPS. And with that, I think I've pretty much come to the end of first review impressions of every single unit I own as a free-to-play. Units that I'm looking out for in the future is definitely gonna be Nia. I think Nia shows like hell of potential, but unfortunately everybody's using Mika, so she doesn't really get a lot of love. So I'll be looking a little bit more. I also really want to get in touch with a Ray, because I think she has a lot of attack buffs, which can you imagine. So for example, if you run Ray, Nia, Kayron, right? You run Nia to cycle all of your Kayron's futility, you get a billion futilities, and then you buff your Kayron's DPS with Dark Condensation. Holy fucking shit, man. So I think this shows a lot of potential, but we're gonna wait and see a little bit more. Other than that, I am relatively happy with like the balance, because I don't think any 5-star is that much stronger than any other 5-stars. Like even for example Haru Urara, right? Haru Urara, like the rate up unit, she is technically not considered a limited unit, because eventually she's gonna be going to the standard pool, just like any other DPS. So as long as you pull that team comp of DPS sustain, cycler, battery-ish, most of them are going to be able to get the job done, especially if you get them their respective card upgrades in Chaos, right? So that is pretty much it. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. A lot of these other units I haven't unlocked yet. I have no Calliope, I have no Haru, whatever, but from what I've seen so far, hell where. Use code for 10% gamers. Join Twitch, join all the best. I'll see you guys next time. Okay.